Welcome to the D1 Diary. I'm Madison Donley.
And I'm Skylar Schellmeyer.
This podcast is to give current and former athletes at the collegiate or professional level the light to share their individual and personal stories about life during athletics and everything behind the scenes.
Although the landscape of college athletics is ever changing, we want to give these athletes the opportunity to discuss the real thoughts and effects of what happens inside the minds of collegiate athletes.
Welcome back to the D1 Diary. Today we have a special guest, Ben Davis. Thank you so much for joining. He was a former linebacker at Davidson College. And just to start off, I want to hear a little bit about your background. How did you get into football?
Yeah, so I started playing football at age 4. I did flag football as soon as I could run and hold a football, and then played my entire life up until college, until, everything that we'll talk about today. And then I did tell my dad, first real football practice, padded practice, that I was going to play college football. So it was all
That's cool. Yeah.
I played every sport, outside of football. I played all the major sports, but always loved football. Kind of my first sports love.
So 4 years old is really young to get into football. I know a lot of parents put their kids in at middle school, obviously because there's a lot of collisions in football. So did your parents voluntarily put you in, or did you want to join football?
So they knew I was going to be a football player. I was always a big and rowdy kid, so it was kind of a let's get your energy out here kind of thing. I played, before flag football, I played soccer, and I was pushing all the kids down. So they said, you need to get on the football field. And I don't come from a big football family. I think I've always been built that way. So they pushed me into it, and I've loved it since.
Gotcha. They said wrong sport.
I was not a soccer player. Yeah, I know that's you guys, but I was not built that way.
So what was your recruiting process like, and how eventually did you land on the decision to go to Davidson?
Yeah, so it was interesting. When I was in high school, I went to a smaller school, Catholic school, and so I did everything for our team. I was our best defensive player, best offensive player. I did long snapping, which is on punts or kicks when they snap it farther back. I did that for us too. So I only came off the field if I was hurt or cramping. And I had a weird recruitment because a lot of schools wanted me, bigger schools wanted me to be a long snapper so I could go be on the team. Georgia and some SEC schools wanted me to do that. But when I spoke to my coach, we kind of went through, my high school coach, we went through, how do you want your career to look like? Do you want to go and do everything that is college football? Because we had a lot of people on staff at my high school that played in college, played in pro. So they were letting me know the kind of workload and everything that comes with it. So he said, look, do you want to go, do this full-time job for 4 years and play 5 snaps a game? Or do you want to go somewhere where they really want you and, they kind of want you to be their guy? So I narrowed it down to some schools that fit academically with me, and then had, opportunity for football, a team that really wanted me. Davidson fit both of those really well. It was one of the better, probably the best academic school I looked at. They really, really wanted me from a recruiting standpoint. They came to visit me in person multiple times, invited me to every camp that was close. So I ended up there.
Separate from some other sports, correct me if I'm wrong, but they can give you multiple scholarship offers at a time, and then you choose, right?
Yeah, you don't have to choose. You get up until signing day, which has changed now. I think they do early signing day. We still had, when I was being recruited, regular signing day, which is in February. So you don't have to choose up until then. I kind of had my mind made up. I wanted to have it made up heading into my senior year,
Mm.
just because you can get hurt, you can get offers pulled, especially in football with the amount of time that I was on the field. So I had pretty much committed to them before my senior football season. I just didn't sign until after the season, but I had kind of shut it down before then.
And when was your first season? Like, what year was your freshman year there?
Yeah, so I came in 2016, graduated 2020 during COVID.
Okay, wow.
So, yeah.
Wow, tough.
What a time.
Oh, yeah.
So I was looking at your stats and I realized you played there your first 2 years of college. Can you explain a little bit why you didn't finish out your football career?
Yes, so I barely saw the field at Davidson. My freshman year, coming from small school to FCS, was a huge leap. And I realized that I had just gotten by on athleticism. I wasn't like out of my league from a speed and skill standpoint. It was a football knowledge thing for me. I came in and like I knew how to run to the ball and tackle people, but I didn't know any of the higher level of the game.
Do you think that was maybe because in high school you played so many different positions where you like couldn't really grasp the knowledge of just one position, or why do you think you quote unquote didn't have that knowledge?
That's it. My role on the team was whatever they needed me to do, and so I didn't learn the finer aspects of anything because I played.
That makes sense.
Like you nailed it. I didn't know how to just be a linebacker, which is what they really recruited me to be, because some plays I would be linebacker, some plays I'd be a safety, like D-line. I mean, I was in the field, so I just learned how to get to the ball, basically.
That makes sense.
And the coaching staff I came from in high school, they were great. It's kind of a funny difference between the coaches I had at high school and the coaches I had in college, because the coaches in high school were great relationships. I still speak with them, really bonded with them on a personal level. Maybe not the best football coaches. I felt like the coaches in college knew quite a bit of the game, but I never really had the relationship with them. So it was a big adjustment. And then also Davidson is a really tough academic school. I got there in the fall and it was like I had a full-time class for football and 4 classes that were brutal. My first class at Davidson was 8 a.m. on a Monday. Usually you're thinking like syllabus week. That's like what I'd heard when I got to college. You're not going to do anything day one.
Right.
We get in there, it's a music class. And
classic.
The first thing she says, she sets everything up. She's like, hey, this is who I am. I'm going to assume everybody knows how to read music. So we're going to skip chapter 1. And the first note I wrote in college, I write down in my notebook, learn how to read music. It took me the whole semester. Like squeaked by that class in music class. You can imagine.
That's insane. When you probably thought it was like a knockoff elective.
Yeah.
Oh, I like partied the night before. I'm in there, I'm barely awake. And she's like, yeah, you should already know how to read music. Like, what? So I got kind of blitzed. I played a fair amount my sophomore year, and I actually was doing well. I was a good part of our rotation. And I had 3 concussions in my sophomore season. And so partly my fault, partly on what we did as a program. And I can kind of go into that. But at a base level, midway through my sophomore season, I had a pretty bad concussion. I came back pretty early, got another one. And then I think I had one at practice. That one is not really confirmed, but I ended up going to a neurologist after because I noticed I would be driving my car and I thought I was going like 70 on the interstate, like 65, and I would be going like 30. And so there was speed and then like time. I felt like I would be studying for an hour and it would be 6.
Oh,
and
wow.
So I started to notice I just wasn't there mentally. I went to see a neurologist and he was basically like, you could come back the November of our senior year. So I could have played like 4 games in college.
Did he say that because your brain just needed that much time to heal itself?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much, because
wow.
we went through it, and he said you had 2 concussions, major concussions back to back, and you came back from both of them too quickly. And he was the one that said you probably had a third.
Scary.
It's not, concussion itself, if you give it time to heal, you will be back pretty quickly. It's the second and repeat concussion after that. That was what I did the first time. I got a concussion. The next week we were going to play San Diego at San Diego. I wanted to fly to California and play football like anyone would. And so, I'm kind of checking all the boxes. Yes, I feel fine. I'm good to go out there and immediately get one. Beginning of the game, first kickoff.
Oh.
It's almost like karma. I don't know. That's kind of crazy. Maybe it's a sign. Shit.
I should have had time to heal. I didn't give myself that. And then really that wasn't our culture. I can go into countless other people who had a similar situation to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, what did your rehab look like?
So you do multiple pieces before you're allowed back. So when you first get it, it's go home and sit in the dark until you feel better. And then you kind of give them the heads up. I feel, normal again. They'll bring you in and you do a test. So before the season, we do a baseline test, which is a mental, it's kind of like an IQ test. But
is it the impact test?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so you do that, and then that sets your baseline. When you have a concussion, you have to come back and pass it. So you have to get, I think it's 85% of your baseline or something.
Wow.
And then they put you through, once you pass that, you go through physical evaluation. So they'll do a whole fitness test. We would do it on the field. You would do some sprints and all kinds of different workouts, and then you would take the test again. So if you pass all that, that's clearing protocol.
Gotcha. And so you were mentioning a culture of not taking the time to heal, and you're about to go into that. Can you just continue on that track and talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so I think just in general, the way that our team was treated, you were never injured, you were hurt, was kind of the mentality. Mm-hmm. You got your bell rung, you need to run some sprints and get over it, basically. We also saw, so just for reference, in my position group, the group I played, we did not have a single player in the year healthy. What we were asked to do was pretty violent, and so we're going to get hurt. When you start losing guys for the season, there's a little bit more pressure for you to come back from whatever's bothering you. And so it happened to a lot of guys. One of my teammates, same position, got a really bad concussion at practice, lost hearing, had vision issues, was really messed up, left the team because of it, and then they never talked to him again, never reached out to him. So it was just that mentality, if you get hurt, really badly hurt, you're
just discarded.
Gone. Yeah. When you're not an asset anymore, you're just a liability, so you're out.
I'm wondering with the piece of you're not injured, you're hurt, suck it up, you got to get back out there. Is that a Davidson football problem, or is that a football problem?
No, that's a football problem. It's not a Davidson problem. Not something I would say that's just we did differently than other places.
Yeah.
I think for us, what we did differently was there was no follow-up from the staff that I had at the time that was meaningful.
I see. Are you okay? How are you doing? It was just okay, you're hurt. All right, get back out there. Oh, we don't really care.
Yeah, and it was also the training staff cleared you you're playing. I got hurt, so I had a really bad sprained ankle, high ankle sprain, and I was in a boot. And the whole idea behind the boot is you're keeping weight off of your foot. And I'm in the locker room, going to go to practice just to watch and help, and I hung around the program after I was gone just to help with practice setup and write down plays and stuff like that. But I'm going out there with a clipboard, and our coach runs up to me. He's like, "Why are you not dressed?" I just pointed at my boot, and I'm like, "Coach, I'm in a boot right now. I'm not practicing today." And he's like, "Well, the rest of you's fine."
What?
So yeah, so this game it's literally like a joke, like a D3 movie, just something like a comedy about football. Makes me put on the rest of my pads. So I'm in a boot and a tennis shoe, wearing football pants, shoulder pads, helmet, everything to hold a clipboard at practice. And our head trainer came over. Her name's Beth. She's a super sweet lady. Only great things to say about her. But she came over and she's like, "What the hell is going on? Why are you in pads?" And I was like, "You got to ask coach. He wouldn't let me leave without, I guess, dressing with the team. I've never got it. I wouldn't try to get it. But it was stuff like that that just kind of made you feel like you're not hurt. You just fight through it."
Did your teammates react the same way?
It was pretty unanimous.
Okay.
I mean, we could spend all night talking about stuff like that. I think everybody had a really good recruiting experience with the staff just because they were so active, calling, texting, showing up, having you like post for visits and stuff like that. And it was, especially at that level of football, they're not as proactive as that. So you think it's going to be this great relationship. And then it was like when you got there, there's the stuff like that. Like, that's just weird. It's not something that I really cared too much about. It's not like it really hurt my ankle or anything, but it's kind of from a human standpoint. What are you asking me to do?
Right.
Like, how am I supposed to connect with you on a personal level when you're asking me to do something?
It's kind of dehumanizing.
Yeah, punishment for being hurt is what it felt like.
Yeah. Well, that, and I feel like when you go through a recruiting process, you're trying to narrow down, okay, what school is the best fit for me? And do I really trust this person? You build a bond with them, and you eventually are like, yeah, I'm going to come play with you, and I'm going to go through really big developmental time with you, the person I trust, and you come here and they just completely destroy it. You were just like fooled, and I can't even imagine how that feels.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the guy I committed to left. We had a coach that was the primary recruiter from Georgia. So I grew up in Columbus, Georgia, and he was our primary guy. Really cool. Ended up at Mississippi State.
Was that before you even stepped foot on campus?
Before I even stepped foot, I signed, and I think I want to say in December, like after fall semester of high school was my signing day, somewhere around then. And before spring practice, he was gone. He like texted me. He's like, "Yeah, I'm gone. I'm signing with another school. You should stick it out." And really, I mean, I committed to the school more than the coaching staff. And I think in today's game, there's a lot of people that do commit to the coach. But for me, I wasn't going to the NFL. I knew that. I played guys that went to the NFL. So I knew where they were at, where I was going to be. And I wasn't trying to make the NFL. So I really wanted to pick a school that was a good fit. Davidson was a great school.
Just to circle back, were there any specific drills that put, you guys at risk?
Yeah, so you would think, before I go work out by myself today, I'm pretty washed up now. I stretch, right? I think grandmas stretch before they play pickleball. We just, for some reason, in my sophomore year, stopped stretching before practice. They're like, this is a waste of time. So they gave our coaches free reign. They're like, you're going to run 10 minutes of drills before practice to get them warm, basically. And my linebacker coach decided the best drill to run was 20-yard angle tackle, which you line up 10 yards away from a set of cones. The other guy lines up 10 yards away from a set of cones, and you guys run and smash heads against each other.
That was the first drill?
So that was like the first thing we did. I would get out of class, and I worked in college too. I managed our ticket office, and so I would work, be in class all day. I'm sitting most of the time, not doing anything active, get out there, strap up. I had like 5 minutes to do all this. I couldn't stretch myself before. So I would just run out and go tackle people for 10 minutes and then practice.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So that was how my other teammate, his name's Alex, that was how he got concussed. It wasn't even during practice. It was our warm-up period.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Are there any other practice drills that you just disagreed with?
I mean, you need to hit in football. There's a extent of it, like in practice, you need to take punishment. Otherwise, when you get to a game, you're not going to be able to take a good hit. Your body actually gets used to it. It's kind of like what MMA, UFC guys do when they're training. They take impacts across all of their body. They're getting punched in the stomach, punched in the ribs, everything. We do the same thing for football to an extent. So you need to do violent drills, but it doesn't need to be the first thing you do. You need to stretch. Everyone does that. We would do it before the game because there's people watching, and they would be like, what the hell is this team doing? I wouldn't say there was any drills we did that were just wrong because football's a violent sport. You know that going in, but it was just the timing of it. Like, the first thing you do is line up 20 yards apart from a grown man and go smash faces against each other for 10 minutes. It's insane.
That's bizarre. I do want to, because you brought up your friend also getting a concussion from that drill. How many concussions you had eventually was the reason why you had to stop playing football, right?
Yeah.
Do you still suffer from any symptoms today?
No, if I hadn't have stopped, I would have. I might be crazy when I'm old, but I don't have any problems now. And it actually it got better over time. It took me about 3.5 months for the driving and time piece to get better. I had to drop classes. I had to go to summer classes. It was a big deal because I was taking Spanish, and I could barely do that without a concussion.
Yeah.
I had no shot. So I mean, it took a while for all that to get better, and then, I haven't had any lasting impact. I get migraines from time to time, but I mean, it's minor.
What percentage of your team would get a concussion per season or over the course of the year?
Yeah, that's a hard thing because I think there are plenty of concussions that you just were like, whatever, man. It had to be bad enough. When I got my second concussion, they noticed it on the field and took me off. And the trainers, so the question I got the first time was, what month is it? And I had no clue. They were like, what month is this? I was like, what are you talking about? And so the next time the question was, who are we playing? And I'm like, November. I think there were some that were caught that people weren't like that. But for me, I didn't get pulled out until I didn't know what month, didn't know where I was. I don't even remember that. I was just told by the trainers. Let me put it that way.
Wow.
I wasn't there for that.
That's scary. That's really scary.
Yeah. Being concussed is kind of like being like blackout drunk.
I had one concussion from soccer, and I told people I felt like I was high. And it was probably a minor concussion, but I remember just feeling so disoriented and could not keep track of what time of day it was. And it was so weird.
It's like that. It's like you're just super drunk or something. Like you're just not, wires aren't connecting.
I do agree with that. I've never had an official concussion, but there's been probably a couple times I've gotten hit in the head, and same to you, Madison. I just felt like I was like dissociating or just not on this planet. I was like, what is happening? Probably pretty mild, so I can't really complain. But yeah, I definitely have been there.
I'm curious, how did they catch you on the highway? Or did you catch yourself going 30?
Oh, I caught myself. I mean, at a certain point. So also, me and my roommate played football. We were both concussed at the same time. And we put towels under the door, taped a blanket above our window. It was just like pure. We didn't do anything for 2 weeks. I barely ate. I had like water in the hallway. It was crazy. And so at some point I was like, I need to go get some food. So I drive myself to go to the grocery store, and it's only a mile away, but you get on the interstate and get right off. And so I realized I'm just not going fast at all. And then it kept happening. Like, as I would drive places, I was like, I don't really even need to be driving because I don't know how fast I'm going. I can't even tell.
That's scary.
It was myself. I noticed it because I looked at the speedometer. I'm like, why is everybody going 100 miles an hour and they're not?
Was it weird with your like team culture? Or is it kind of just like the coaches mostly? Or what do you think about that?
It was our coaches. So our team, and I might offend some of the guys that played after us, but my team, so my class that came in 2016, we didn't win anything under the staff that I played for. And actually, the coach that we hired after the coach I played for my freshman, sophomore year was the very first coach who ever recruited me. They went on and won our league, basically, went to the FCS playoffs my senior year. That senior year team was comparable in talent to my freshman year team. but it was the team culture, and that's led by the coaches. There's a certain extent that the players can, we all played for each other. We had a good culture in the locker room. People were working. It wasn't like we were all just slackers, but we didn't believe in our coaches to put us in the best position. And that's a very real thing. If I trust that if I do my job and, all my teammates do their job, the right things are going to happen. People would be running off the sideline. They're like, this isn't going to work. We just knew to an extent we were just not in a good position. So
Yeah.
it was really top down. I think the guys were always there because a lot of the guys that I came in with were still there. My senior year, they were the core of that team, and they went and won the league, but they had different leadership.
Now, going off of that, what exactly was he doing within the culture to kind of stir the pot and make the team not believe in him and your winning potential?
I mean, it's twofold. So first is the scheme, right? I think and everybody that loves their sport is like pretty deep into the schematics of the strategy behind what they're doing. So we just knew certain things didn't make sense. I mean, before we played Western Carolina, we're warming up before the game. The whole week, our coaches are like, they can't throw it deep. We're going to play up. We're going to stop the run. And it's going to be like, we're going to win that way. And we're on the field, 10 minutes till kick, crowd's going crazy, all this stuff's going on. Our coaches run up, they're like, hey, they may throw it deep. Like, be on the lookout, they may throw it deep, they may run hurry up. We get out there, and these guys, they throw for like 500 yards against us because the whole time they just were running deep passing routes the entire game. So it's like, there's stuff like that. You begin to like kind of question what was our scouting and what was our play calling and stuff like that. So there's that piece of it. And then from the relationship standpoint, the coaches I played for before us, they weren't great play callers. It wasn't like I bought into their play calling. I bought into them as a person. I trust you as a leader. And we didn't have that from the top down. And so it's kind of twofold. Like the guys, I think it was pretty unanimous. He had lost the locker room. And also we just didn't trust what we were doing.
Yeah, so I saw a super short article from ESPN mentioning that your head coach got let go in 2017. How did that come about? And I guess, how did the team respond to that?
Yeah, so it was kind of team driven. We do, at the end of the season, an exit interview with our athletic director. So it's kind of like, how has this season gone? What's the direction of the program? Those kind of questions. And I think everybody unanimously was like, we're done. I went off on my interview because of some stuff that happened and how I was treated, how I felt personally. I think it was player driven. I will say the reason he was brought in, he was a former player. Their team was really good. He was one of their better players, kind of had some history there. And I think they wanted to give him a shot with a team that just wasn't very good. And they brought him in, but he didn't have experience running it. And so I always felt like there was a sense of he was trying to be somebody that he's not. I think if I hung out with him outside of football today, we'd probably get along. There was a time he yelled at us so hard his nose bled in the locker room. And we're like, dude, you don't need to do that to get us motivated. Like, it was kind of like he was playing the character. When we had those interviews, we were like, this is what's going on. I was like, I'm done. I'm done with this. I'm walking away. So,
can you elaborate on any specific thing that kind of stands out to you when you flash back to that moment of your exit interview?
So the AD, kind of prefaced it with like, because I was, a sophomore. I wasn't the first one to go. They talked to the seniors, juniors. By the time they got to me, it was like, I know what's been going on. Can I get your thoughts? I think they just kind of wanted to hear some of the younger players. Is everybody just jaded because they haven't won, or what's going on? I told him, and I mean, I can tell you guys, I missed one game my sophomore year as well because one of my best friends was shot and killed, and I wanted to go to the funeral. I drove down on a Friday, do the whole thing on Saturday. This is like a 6-hour drive. So I do all that. I'm with his family, with my family Saturday. And then we had practice on Sunday. So this is while my ankle's messed up too. It's not like I missed a game I could play. I drive back on Sunday. I wake up at like 4 a.m. to get back for 10:30 practice and drive all the way back. I get in the locker room. I'm getting all my stuff together. He walks up to me, slaps me on the back, and he's like, "How was vacation?" I don't think he was like, I just don't think he knew. I don't think he cared where I was. They just thought I was on vacation or something. And so I left. Like, I just walked out. I was like, dude, I mean, you can't say that. I shouldn't even be there. I should have stayed and been with my family and his family.
I'm speechless, honestly.
Yeah, for real.
I told Dad in my exit interview, I said a lot of stuff I've already said. I was like, you got to get somebody in here who is going to resonate with the players, or you're not going to have a team. We're not winning anything, so there's nothing to like. If it would be different if we were undefeated, maybe we would give it a pass and we get behind them, but like, we're not winning anything and we're being treated like dogs.
Were there any of your teammates that had, you know, any other experiences that stood out that you remember?
I mean, there's a long list. I already told you about Alex. I think he had years of symptoms from that. We had people who had panic attacks. I mean, we had people collapse on the field. That wasn't necessarily their fault. It's like, dude, if you're going to collapse, don't practice. One of my good buddies, probably best friend on the team, got burned by our training staff.
What do you mean?
I was going to ask that.
He had a heat pack on his leg, and he was like, hey, I was in the training room for this too. He was like, hey, this is really hot. This is hurting. Can we take it off? And it wasn't our head trainer. It was one of the side trainers. And he's like, it's a heat pack. It's supposed to hurt or something like that. And so it goes on for another like 5-10 minutes. He's like, no, this is really hurting. Take it off with me. He didn't know how to take it off. And so they finally did. And his skin was boiled.
Oh my gosh.
And so for like 2 weeks, it was just kind of red, like dead skin. And then it fell out of his leg. I don't want to get too graphic. Our coaches are like, you're fine.
Wrap up. Get out there.
Put some milk on
like,
it.
Dude, like bandage it up and get out there. This was like, wow, I'm concussed too. So you just imagine how down bad we all are. I'm stumbling into his room, can't balance. I'm like, dude, are you okay? And he's like, I got hit in the leg today and my scap's broke and there's just some blood all over. That's kind of football though, but I mean, you just want someone, you want to feel like you have your best interests taken care of. We didn't have that.
So after, you stopped playing, do you feel like your life maybe got better, worse, stayed the same, didn't really impact you when you stopped playing, or what was that process like?
My life got a lot better.
Oh.
I wasn't emotionally abused every day. I mean, it was tough. Like I said, I played football from when I was 4. And and y'all are athletes. It can sometimes be your identity. And especially, I was always like a superstar until I got to college. And I'm like, just a guy. I was good, but I wasn't a superstar on the college field. Those guys go to the NFL. So that's an adjustment. And then walking away from the game entirely. And football is not something you can like pick up and play as a club sport. I'll play flag football. It's not the same. When you're done, you're done. And it's final. So it was definitely tough and emotional, but I had a good reason. I have a whole rest of my life. I'm not going to waste it, especially not those guys that I was playing for. It was a good thing, and I was a lot happier afterward.
Post-football, what did you start filling your time with?
So I stayed involved with football. I helped out with the team, and these were all some of my best friends. So I still spent quite a bit of time doing that. I was in a fraternity and I worked and I had crazy classes. It wasn't like I used my free time for something else because I already didn't have free time. It was like I just slept regular hours instead of 4 hours a night. I think in sports in general definitely set me up for success personally and in the business sense. Just knowing how to combat adversity as an individual and then also be a part of a team and something bigger than yourself. Those are crucial skills in life.
100.
I would say football itself helped me a ton. It's the ultimate team sport. There's 100 guys there. You got to be friends with all of them. So that's a very invaluable skill.
I definitely agree with you and resonate with that. That's super awesome that you still maybe didn't have the best time at Davidson, but I feel like you made the most of it and I feel like you still have a lot of gratitude towards the game and what it's done for you. So that's super cool, man.
Just to wrap up, last question. If you had a son and he was bulldozing people on the soccer field, would you put him in a football jersey and put him on the same path you were?
That's gonna be up to the missus, but my vote is if you're a bulldozer, you're going on the football field.
Love that
Like
answer.
by the time they're old enough, by the time I have kids and they're old enough to play football, we're gonna have some technology that takes concussions out or something.
I hope so.
Hopefully. Fingers crossed.
I don't regret a bit of it. I mean, I've had crazy injuries. I've broken my neck. I tore my hip flexor. I had multiple concussions.
Oh my gosh.
I've knocked my shoulder out of socket. The other day, my girlfriend was like grabbing my arm, pulled it out of socket because there's just like a lack of supporting tissue. So like, there's definitely some wear and tear, but I wouldn't trade it for anything. I feel like I can go through anything now. It's not breaking your neck. I got to make another 10 dials at work or write a paper. So it's like, that's easy. I have a different perspective on it than I think some people would. And definitely when you're parenting a child, it's different.
Well, thank you, Ben, so much for sharing your story.
We really appreciate you, and it was awesome getting to know you a little bit.
Absolutely.
Email us, DM us, reach out to us, and we look forward to next week. But thank you so much for listening. We really appreciate all of you. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, all of the socials, and just follow along with our story. Okay. Bye.